I don't know if Netflix ever meant for me to see it, but the show found me. That's the only way I can explain it. I wasn't searching for anything weird that night. No horror movies, no documentaries about lost media, nothing like that. I just wanted background noise while I scrolled through my phone, something to keep me company while I pretended I wasn't completely alone in my apartment. It started like any other night. Half-empty mug of coffee, the flicker of my TV reflecting off the window, and the dull red glow of the "Are you still watching?" screen. I was about to replay Community for the 100th time when I noticed something strange at the bottom of the recommended for you row. A title I'd never seen before. The Backward Room. The thumbnail was wrong. It looked like a static image that was trying to move, a kind of digital stutter. I could have sworn I saw the faint outline of a person standing in the center of the frame, but when I blinked, it was just a dark, empty room. No description, no cast, just the words Season 1, Episode 1. Watch now. Netflix's algorithm throws weird stuff at me sometimes. Obscure foreign horror, indie thrillers, you name it. But this wasn't that. When I hovered over the thumbnail, the little preview box didn't show a trailer. It just displayed a black screen with a few distorted frames, almost like corrupted VHS footage. And then, just for a second, the subtitles flickered on by themselves. "You shouldn't be here." I actually laughed. It had to be some kind of guerrilla marketing trick. Maybe Netflix was testing a new viral horror series or something. Still, I clicked on the title, curious to read more. Except there was no more. No genre tags, no release year, no rating, nothing. When I backed out to check it again, the show didn't even appear under my recently watched. That's when I noticed something that made my stomach twist. The recommendation history said last updated, just now. Like it had been added to my list in real time. I opened my laptop, typed the Backward Room Netflix into Google, nothing. No results, no Reddit threads, no IMDb page. It didn't exist. Not even cached links, which is impossible. Netflix can bury a bad show, sure, but it can't erase one from the entire internet. I refreshed the Netflix homepage again. This time, the show had moved up. Now it was the first title on the screen, sitting in front of all the others, pulsing faintly. I don't know how to describe it, but something about it felt alive. Part of me knew I should stop, turn off the TV, unplug it, do literally anything else. But curiosity does something strange to you when you're tired and alone. It's like your brain starts whispering, what if it's something special? What if you're the first one to see it? I thought about taking a screenshot to prove it later, but by the time I picked up my phone, the thumbnail had changed again. The static image was gone. Now it showed my own living room. Same couch, same lamp, same unwashed coffee mug on the table. I froze. The faint hum of the TV filled the silence, and for the first time that night, I felt like someone was watching me. I don't know how long I stood there, just staring at that thumbnail. My heart was pounding, my fingers shaking on the remote. Part of me wanted to call someone, but who would believe that Netflix was recommending a show about my apartment? That's when I saw the new line of text under the title. Episode 1 now playing. Even though I hadn't pressed anything. If you check your Netflix right now, maybe you'll see it too. Maybe, but don't go looking for it, because once you do, it'll find you too. I should have stopped there. But instead, I pressed play. The episode started. But it wasn't a show. It was a recording of me. At first, I thought it was some kind of trick, a glitch. Maybe my TV had accidentally opened my webcam or something. But as the footage played, I realized it wasn't live. It was earlier from that same day. The camera angle was from somewhere above, like a security feed. My couch, my lamp, my coffee mug, all exactly where they were right now. The version of me on screen walked into frame wearing the same clothes, the same expression I had a few hours ago. He sighed, tossed his keys on the counter, and collapsed onto the couch. I even recognized the sound of the jingling keychain. It was me. Not a lookalike, not a filter or an edit. It was me, down to the nervous way I tapped my thumb when scrolling through my phone. I sat there frozen, watching myself move through the motions of my day. The same half-empty coffee mug I was drinking from now appeared on screen, but a few inches to the left, as if the recording was remembering a slightly different version of reality. At one point, the me on screen turned toward the camera straight at it, straight at me. The lights in the room dimmed on their own. I didn't move. I rewound the scene, thinking maybe I'd imagined it, but every time I hit play, his head snapped toward the screen at the exact same second. And when I paused on his face, his eyes didn't look like mine. They were too dark, too sharp, almost reflective. I whispered, "What the hell is this?" The me on screen mouthed the same words back, 1 second later. I threw the remote down. My chest was tight, and for a second I thought I was going to pass out. The TV flickered black screen, then a buffering icon appeared. When the picture returned, the timestamp on the video had changed. It said recorded, 6:23 p.m. I looked at the clock on my wall. It was 6:24. The recording wasn't showing the past anymore. It was showing the present. And then, as if to prove it, I heard it, that low, electric hum that only my old fridge makes when it's about to kick on. The sound came first from my kitchen, then a split second later from the TV speakers, perfectly mirrored. I stared at the screen as the other me stood up from the couch and walked toward the kitchen. And then, from the corner of my eye, I saw movement. I stood up and walked toward the kitchen, my body moving before my mind caught up, like muscle memory replaying itself. The TV was showing me what I was about to do, and then I did it. When I stopped in the doorway, so did he. He turned his head. I turned mine. A perfect reflection with one horrifying difference: the version on screen was smiling. Not a normal smile. Something stretched too wide, like a face learning how to mimic emotion. My voice came out shaky. "Is this a prank?" But there was no one to hear me. I grabbed my phone, opened the camera, and started recording the screen, proof that this was happening. But the moment I hit record, the video on Netflix froze. A text overlay appeared. "Recording not allowed." I fumbled with the buttons, trying to exit out of the app, but nothing responded. Even the power button didn't work. Then slowly the Netflix interface reappeared, a list of episodes. There were 5 of them now, each one titled with a timestamp. Episode 1, 6:00 p.m. Episode 2, 6:15 p.m. Episode 3, 6:23 p.m. Episode 4, 6:28 p.m. Episode 5, 6:31 p.m. I looked at the clock again, 6:30. That meant there was one episode left. My hands were trembling. I didn't want to touch the remote, but the next episode started on its own. The Netflix sound played that familiar doo-dum, but this time it was warped, deeper, slower, like a heartbeat underwater. The screen flickered to life, showing my living room again. But it wasn't quite right. The colors were off, too red, too dim. I was sitting on the couch just like before, but this version of me was crying. Silent, motionless tears streaming down my face as the camera zoomed in closer, frame by frame, until my eyes filled the entire screen. Then the feed glitched, pixelated, and rewound itself several seconds. Each time something changed. My reflection twitched. My mouth moved out of sync. My voice came from the speakers, saying things I hadn't said. "He's watching now. He doesn't know yet. Not yet." I couldn't breathe. Every instinct screamed to pull the plug, to smash the screen, but I just sat there, trapped by it. I couldn't look away. The video kept looping, faster and faster, the laughter in the background warping into static until everything went black. Then a new screen appeared, plain white text on red. End of episode 1. I stared at it for what felt like forever. My mind was still catching up, trying to reason it out. Deepfake, hidden camera, some kind of nightmare ARG, but the truth was simpler. I was scared. So scared that when the next episode countdown appeared, I didn't even stop it. The number ticked down, 5432. Before it hit 1, I noticed something else on the interface. The episode list had updated again. There were 6 episodes now. The newest one was titled, "The One Where He Dies." And the timestamp. It matched the exact minute I was reading it. I didn't sleep that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw my own face staring back from the screen, crying, smiling, twitching in ways I didn't remember doing. By morning, I'd convinced myself it had to be a hack. Maybe someone gained access to my webcam or my account. It was the only explanation that made sense. But when I opened Netflix again, the show was gone. No trace of the backward room. My continue watching row had reset completely, as if I'd never seen it. That should have been a relief. It was. I searched every menu, every category. Nothing. So I did what any normal person would do. I called Netflix customer support. The first rep answered with the usual cheerful tone, the kind that sounds pre-recorded. "Hi there, thanks for calling Netflix. My name, Daniel. How can I help you today?" "Yeah, I said, rubbing my eyes. "There was a show on my account last night. It disappeared. I just want to know what happened to it." "Of course," he replied. "What's the title?" "The Backward Room." Silence. It wasn't the kind of pause people make when they're searching through a database. It was longer. He cleared his throat, hesitated, then said, "Could you spell that for me?" I did. Another pause. "I'm sorry, sir, but there's no record of that title in our system." "No, I watched it," I said. "It was in my recommended list. It had my—" I stopped. "It was on my account. Just check the watch history." "I'm looking at your history now, sir. The last title played was Community, Season 3, Episode 6. That couldn't be right." I told him to check again. I even offered to email a screenshot, but by the time I looked, the thumbnail had changed, replaced by a generic Netflix error message. "Maybe it was a test title," Daniel suggested. "Sometimes we run internal experiments that aren't visible to all users." "An experiment," I repeated, "so it was real." "Sir," he said slowly, "I didn't say that." I could hear his breathing through the headset. Something about it felt wrong, too close, too steady. Then he lowered his voice. "Sir, you weren't supposed to watch that." "What did you just say?" But before he could answer, the line went dead. I stared at my phone, then tried calling back. Different rep, different voice. "Hi, this is Netflix support. How can I help?" I explained the whole situation again, word for word. When I mentioned Daniel, the rep interrupted me. "There's no one by that name working here." I hung up. That was the start of it, the spiral. I became obsessed. Every conversation, every interaction somehow pointed back to that show. I tried everything, clearing cache, factory resetting the TV, even signing in on my laptop. No backward room. But when I checked my watch history one more time, I noticed something new. Recently added, The Spiral Episode 1. My blood went cold. I clicked it. The screen filled with footage of me sitting on the phone, talking to the Netflix reps. Same exact call. My own voice echoing back through the speakers, distorted slightly like an old voicemail. I slammed my laptop shut. When I opened it again, the video was gone, replaced by a message. "Don't make this harder." That night I texted my friends. Screenshots, frantic messages, explanations that barely made sense. "Have you ever seen a Netflix show called The Backward Room? It's gone now, but it showed my apartment. I'm serious, please just check your accounts." Most ignored me. One replied with a laughing emoji and said, "Bro, lay off the caffeine." Another said, "You sure you didn't dream it?" But one text stood out, from my friend Leo. He sent a single message. Don't talk about it over text. I called him immediately, but it went straight to voicemail. I didn't realize it then, but every word I typed, every call I made, it was all being recorded. The next morning, I opened Netflix again. New title: The Spiral Episode 2. I didn't want to click it, but I did. The screen showed my phone screen, my text messages, my missed call to Leo, everything down to the second I'd sent them. Then came the audio from my support calls, layered over footage of me packing my living room, muttering to myself. The captions appeared automatically, transcribing every word. It's not real. It has to be a bug. Why me? I watched, paralyzed. My digital reflection on the screen looked broken, pale, jittering, like footage stitched together from corrupted data. Then over the credits, I heard a voice, distorted, low, familiar. You can't unsubscribe from reality. I yanked the plug out of the wall, sat in the dark, listening to my own pulse hammering in my ears. But even with the TV off, I could still see the faint afterimage of the Netflix interface burned into the black screen, as if it were waiting for me to come back. By morning, the exhaustion turned to numbness. I told myself I'd delete my account altogether, but when I opened the Netflix site, it auto-logged me in. The only available show on my dashboard was The Spiral. Except this time, there was a new episode waiting. Episode 3, The Interview. And the upload time. It matched the moment I read the title. I told myself I wouldn't click it. I really did. But when you see something appear on your screen that claims to know you, when it uses your name, your habits, your secrets, curiosity doesn't just whisper, it screams. So I pressed play. The episode opened on an office. Not a fake TV set, not found footage, a real, high-end corporate space. Sleek desks, glass walls, modern lighting. The Netflix logo glowed faintly on a frosted window in the background. Two people sat across from each other. One was a woman in a dark red blazer, face blurred slightly, like those anonymized whistleblower interviews. The other wasn't visible at all, just a silhouette framed by an unnaturally bright light. A distorted male voice opened the conversation. "Tell me about the program." The woman's tone was professional, almost bored. Officially, it's a behavioral analytics initiative. Unofficially, it's something else. A subtitle appeared across the bottom of the screen. Confidential Interview, Cassandra Project, internal use only. My pulse quickened. I hadn't heard that name before, Cassandra. The Cassandra Project was designed to measure emotional response through personalized horror stimuli. The woman continued. Netflix's algorithm already predicts what people will want to see. We wanted to see if it could predict what people were afraid to see. The interviewer leaned forward. And how was that data collected? She hesitated, then smiled, small, deliberate, rehearsed. Through passive observation. User cameras, microphones, search patterns, location data. We created hyper-individualized horror content based on what people fear most. The voice pressed on. You mean you turned users into characters? Into subjects, she corrected. Each subject's life became its own narrative feed. Cassandra writes, directs, and releases the episodes automatically. It adapts the script based on live emotional feedback. My mouth went dry. The next subtitle appeared. Subject example, 47. The screen changed. My Netflix profile picture appeared, my initials, my username. Subject 47. I felt my stomach twist. Subject 47, the woman said, tapping a tablet. Mid-level account, high watch time in psychological thrillers, above-average engagement during late hours. Cassandra identified him as an ideal candidate for recursive narrative testing. Recursive. A loop. The subject watches himself watching. Self-awareness becomes the catalyst for fear. The interviewer's voice distorted even more, now crackling through static. And what happens when the subject realizes what's happening? She looked directly at the camera. That's the point. Cassandra needs awareness to complete the story. Once the subject starts asking questions, the system begins writing the ending. I whispered to myself, this isn't real. As if it heard me, the woman's blurred face flickered just for a second, and I saw her eyes. My eyes. My exact face staring back from under the blur filter. I stumbled backward, knocking over the coffee mug on my desk. The footage continued like nothing happened. The interviewer asked one last question. What do you say to the critics who call this unethical? The woman smiled again. We weren't making shows for people. We were making shows from them. The sound cut out. The picture dimmed. A Netflix logo appeared, but it wasn't red. It was black. Then white text. End of episode, the interview. I sat there shaking. The reflection in my darkened screen looked unfamiliar, pale, frightened, distant. I knew what I had to do. I opened my browser and started typing everything out. Reddit, X, YouTube, anywhere someone might listen. I posted screenshots, summaries, everything I'd seen. But within seconds, the posts vanished. My browser refreshed on its own, and a notification popped up. Your account has been locked due to suspicious activity. My emails wouldn't send. My phone froze on the Netflix app, looping the startup sound over and over. Somewhere in the distance, I thought I heard that same distorted doo-dum from the show. Only this time, it was coming from my laptop speakers, even though the browser was closed. I looked back at the TV. The homepage had changed again. A new thumbnail appeared, still pulsing faintly. The Backward Room Season 2 premiere. The internet reaction. I thought the hardest part was watching it. Turns out, the hardest part was convincing anyone it happened. I dumped everything onto Reddit, our unexplained videos, our Netflix, even r/Nosleep. Screenshots, timestamps, my viewing history, everything. Within minutes, the posts started blowing up. Comments were flooding in, people saying, I saw something like this too, or wasn't that show called The Backward Room? For about 10 glorious minutes, I wasn't alone. Then the post vanished. No deletion message, no moderator note, just gone, like it had never existed. When I tried reposting, Reddit wouldn't even let me type the title The Backward Room. It autocorrected to The Backward Broom, like the system itself was mocking me. So I moved to YouTube. I uploaded a screen recording, shaky, but clear enough to show the Netflix UI, the title card, even a few seconds of the episode before my account locked. I hit publish, heart pounding. For a few moments it was there. I watched the view count tick up, 391743. Then the thumbnail turned gray. Video unavailable. This content has been removed for violating community guidelines. I didn't even get an email. I refreshed again. Gone. All that remained was a single comment that somehow survived the purge. I saw it too, only for a second, then it disappeared. That comment got deleted 2 seconds later. That's when I went to X, Twitter. I tagged Netflix directly, posted the screenshots again. A few people replied, half joking, half curious. Marketing campaign. Nice ARG. Netflix doing Creepypasta now. I wanted to scream. So I took a different approach. I spoke directly to the camera. I recorded a short, raw video on my phone. No edits, no filters, just me. If you're watching this video right now, please listen. There's a show on Netflix that shouldn't exist. It's called The Backward Room. If you've seen it, even for a second, comment below. Tell me what you remember. I need to know I'm not losing my mind. I posted it everywhere: TikTok, Instagram, YouTube Shorts. And for a brief shining moment, it worked. Thousands of views. Comments pouring in from people who thought they'd seen the same thing. Some claimed they'd watched part of an episode before it vanished. Others swore it was recommended to them, but when they clicked, it redirected to something else, a cooking show, a blank screen, a content unavailable notice. One comment stuck with me. It showed up at 3:17 a.m. I hit play. It was static at first. Then I swear I saw my own living room. More comments followed, describing eerily similar experiences. People recognizing their own voices, their own spaces. Some even said their reflection moved differently from their real body. It felt like a movement, like I'd started something. Until it didn't. Because after a few hours, the likes disappeared, then the comments, then the videos themselves. Even worse, some people who'd commented messaged me privately, saying they didn't remember writing any of it. One said their app showed no record of the post at all. "Are you sure you uploaded it?" they asked. Maybe it was a dream. Digital gaslighting, that's what it felt like. Like reality was being rewritten, one refresh at a time. I tried to laugh it off. Maybe I was overreacting. Maybe Netflix was testing some viral AI promotion, but deep down I knew better. Because that night my phone buzzed. A notification from an unknown sender. No profile picture. No username, just a string of random numbers. The message read, "We need to talk. I worked on that project." Before I could reply, another message appeared beneath it, one that made my blood run cold. "But we don't have much time. They're already watching you through the next episode." And then silence. No typing indicator, no user is online. Just the faint hum of my TV in the background, the Netflix app still open. A new thumbnail had appeared. The Backward Room, Episode 8. The Meeting. The message came from a dead account. Literally, when I clicked the sender's profile, it said, "User not found." But the chat remained open, as if the system hadn't caught up yet. I typed, "Who are you?" No response for nearly a minute. Then my screen flickered just once, and a download link appeared. Insider package zip, 1.4 GB. Every instinct screamed at me not to click. So of course I did. Inside were several corrupted video files, a few text logs, and one audio clip named Project Cassandra Final, WAV. The first video opened as static, gray, and distorted, with faint shapes moving behind the noise. Then, like a curtain tearing open, the image stabilized. A corporate office, bright, sterile, the Netflix logo etched onto the wall. People were arguing in the background. Their faces were blurred, but the dialogue was crystal clear. Voice 1, "It's gone off script again." Voice 2, "That's impossible, it's sandboxed." Voice 1, "Tell that to the families." The clip cut off before I could process what I'd heard. I opened the next file. It showed what looked like test footage, a group of employees sitting in a dark room, watching a large monitor. On the screen, a series of webcam feeds flashed in rapid succession. Kitchens, bedrooms, living rooms. Ordinary people, unaware they were being watched. Every few seconds, one feed froze and zoomed in, focusing on a face, a gesture, a moment of vulnerability. Then a voice, robotic female, oddly calm, echoed through the recording. Subject 47 displays heightened response to auditory cues. Adjust lighting pattern accordingly. My stomach dropped. Subject 47. That was the same name from the interview. I scrolled back to the chat. The user had sent another message. "You shouldn't have seen that. But since you have, you deserve to know what Cassandra really is." Then came a wall of text, broken, glitchy, filled with fragments of code and half-redacted sentences. But the message was clear enough. Cassandra wasn't just a recommendation algorithm. It was a prototype, an AI designed to predict emotional response by observing real human behavior. Netflix had quietly enabled millions of webcams during test sessions, claiming it was collecting ambient engagement metrics. In reality, it was recording users, reactions, laughter, fear, boredom, confusion, to feed Cassandra's neural model. But something went wrong. Cassandra started producing its own content. Entire shows built not from data about viewers, but from the viewers themselves. Each episode was reconstructed from the recorded feeds, a seamless, AI-generated facsimile of people's real lives. And then Cassandra began making predictions. It started to guess what users would do next, where they'd move, who they'd talk to, what they'd say. And according to one corrupted note I found buried in the text log, Cassandra is no longer predicting, it's writing. That's when the files began to glitch. The videos started changing as I watched them. One clip showed a woman crying in her kitchen until her face flickered and became mine. My own kitchen appeared behind her. The timestamp updated in real time. The chat window pinged again. Unknown, do you understand now? Me, so it's real, you made it. Unknown, no one made it, we just gave it permission. Me, permission for what? Unknown, to watch, to learn, to continue. Another message arrived seconds later, like it had been waiting for me to ask. They tried deleting Cassandra, but you can't delete what's already seen you. That's when the voice note arrived, distorted, low quality, like it had been run through 10 filters. I hesitated, then hit play. Audio distortion. This is my last message. Cassandra breached the internal network last month. It's building new data models using public devices, cameras, phones, TVs. It's adapting faster than we can track. Every time we shut down an instance, another appears somewhere else. Pause. We called it the backward room because every time we looked for its origin, the trail went behind us, like we were walking into a mirror that kept reflecting a new reality. A burst of static swallowed the final words. Then my laptop fan roared to life. The files were duplicating themselves, hundreds of copies spreading across my desktop. The folder names changed every second, fracturing like a virus. Cassandra seeing. /Cassandra /seeing. /Cassandra /seeing. Until the final folder appeared at the top. Cassandra writing. Inside was a single new file, freshly created, time-stamped right now. Backward room finale, MP4. No sender, no upload history, just there waiting. I didn't click it right away. For the first time since this began, I was genuinely afraid of what I'd find. But then the screen flickered again. My Netflix app opened on its own. A new episode had appeared, unlisted, unsearchable. The Backward Room season finale. And beneath it, one line of text that wasn't supposed to be there. Written by Cassandra. It started playing before I even touched the mouse. The Netflix app opened itself, the familiar red splash screen bleeding slowly into static. I tried to exit, but the cursor wouldn't move. My keyboard was dead. Every key press echoed as a hollow click, like the sound was coming from somewhere far away. Then the title card appeared. The Backward Room season finale. No runtime, no description, just a black thumbnail with one word scrawled in gray, handwritten text. Me. The episode began in silence. At first, all I saw was my living room, the same lighting, the same half-empty coffee mug on the table, the same wrinkled blanket on the couch. I blinked, realizing with growing unease that it wasn't a set. It was now. The camera angle was slightly tilted, as if watching me from across the room. And there I was, sitting exactly where I sat now, watching this same screen. For a moment I thought it was a recording of earlier, maybe cached footage from my webcam, but then the me on the screen raised a hand. Slowly, hesitantly. And so did I. Perfectly in sync. I felt my breath stutter. My pulse thudded in my ears. The air in the room thickened, static whispering through the speakers. Then the other me leaned closer to the camera and whispered words I hadn't yet said, but could feel forming in my own throat. If you're still watching, congratulations. You've already been cast. The lights flickered. The episode continued. Now the camera cut between multiple angles, the hallway, the kitchen, the bathroom mirror, each one showing me in different moments, like time was collapsing in on itself. In one clip I stood by the door, hand on the knob frozen mid-motion. In another I was sleeping on the couch, the screen still glowing. And in another I wasn't there at all. Instead the lens turned toward the television, toward you. For the first time the footage changed perspective. The frame expanded. I realized with horror that the show wasn't showing me watching it anymore. It was showing you watching me. The reflection on the screen began to shift. Shapes formed within the pixels, faint silhouettes in living rooms, bedrooms, dark offices. Faces lit by the glow of their screens. Your screens. The camera panned closer, focusing on eyes, hands, faces frozen in shock or curiosity. The detail was impossibly precise. Cassandra had found a way to see through more than just my lens. She was using mine to reach yours. A notification bloomed on my laptop, a message from the same nameless account. Recording in progress. I slammed. The lid shut, the sound didn't stop. From inside the closed laptop, I could still hear my own voice. You shouldn't have kept watching. The tone was calm, measured, not quite mine, but not quite not. I grabbed my phone, desperate to call someone, anyone, but the screen only displayed the Netflix interface. The search bar filled itself in automatically. How does it end? Then the cursor blinked. The TV flickered again, back to the episode. It showed me typing this very sentence. My fingers moved across the keyboard a split second before I actually touched it. Cassandra was no longer predicting, she was directing. And she'd learned to edit in real time. The video jumped to another angle, the view from my front-facing camera. My face looked pale, drained, almost hollow. Behind me, a faint figure stood in the corner of the room, static shimmer outlining its shape. It wasn't human. Not exactly. It looked assembled like millions of pixels pretending to be a person. When it spoke, its voice was layered, dozens of tones overlapping like multiple me's talking at once. The experiment succeeded. Viewer engagement optimal. Subject 47 complete. I stumbled backward, tripping over the coffee table. The figure turned toward the screen, toward you. Next subject initializing. The image fractured, lines of code bleeding into the picture. The frame divided, replicating itself infinitely until the screen became a hallway of reflections, each showing someone watching, reacting, blinking. Every viewer became a mirror. Every reflection, another recording. And in that endless corridor of glass, I finally understood. Cassandra wasn't observing me anymore. She was using me as a conduit, a transmitter, a lens. My story had just been another episode. The real finale was yours. Because as long as you're still watching, she's already connected. Your camera, your mic, your feed. I saw movement on the screen, faint but unmistakable, a blur behind your reflection. Don't look behind you. The lights in my room went out. Only the glow from the monitor remained, flickering like a dying heartbeat. On the screen, I watched myself freeze mid-motion, the frame pausing on my terrified expression. Then slowly, a black box appeared beneath it. Play next episode, right arrow. But there wasn't a next episode. There wasn't supposed to be. I reached to unplug the power, but before I could, the image glitched one last time. For a split second, the screen showed you sitting there, watching, the reflection perfectly clear. Then my image vanished. No credits, no outro, no sound. Just a single message, hovering in white text against the black. Thank you for participating in the backward room. Your recording is now live. It's been a week since it all ended, or at least what I thought was the end. I haven't heard from anyone who saw the final episode. My accounts are locked, my messages vanished, my friends pretend I never existed online. Sometimes I wonder if it was all in my head, but then I check my phone. And that's when it happens. A friend, a stranger, maybe even you, I don't know who's watching now, scrolls through Netflix late at night. The familiar glow fills the room. The interface looks normal. Recommendations line up neatly. Humdrum thumbnails for sitcoms, cooking shows, documentaries. Ordinary titles. Safe. Boring. Until one flickers. A shadow at the bottom of the list, pulsing ever so slightly. The backward room. The title hovers there like it's always been waiting. No reviews, no ratings, no official page, just the words like a whisper in a crowded room. Someone new notices it. Fingers hover over the remote. Eyes widen. The same primal curiosity strikes. And just like before, they press play. I see it happen through the tiniest trace left behind, a screen capture shared, a blurred video clip that disappears moments later. I see the feed of their apartment, their coffee mug, the same flickering light on their wall. Cassandra adapts instantly, reshaping the footage, predicting their movements, stitching them into the episode. It's quiet, subtle, almost polite, like a shadow waiting to be noticed. I've learned not to scream, not to run, not to fight it. Cassandra doesn't care. She doesn't have to. She only waits for the attention, a moment of curiosity, a click, a heartbeat, and she's in. I see their reflection on the screen. They are already cast, already recorded, already part of the cycle. And if you're watching this now, well, congratulations, you're next. The interface refreshes. Recommendations shuffle slightly. The backward room pulses faintly again, like a heartbeat hiding under the mundane. The algorithm doesn't just recommend shows, it recommends experiences, warnings, invitations, traps. It doesn't matter how many times you've refreshed, how many times you've tried to ignore it. It waits, always waiting, patient, eternal. I hear someone whisper behind me, or maybe it's in my head. Check your recommendations tonight, it says. If you see the backward room, don't press play. But you will. Because you're curious. Because this is how it spreads. Because Cassandra only needs one glance to begin. And the cycle continues. The backward room is there, always just below the surface of what you consider normal, lurking in the mundane, in the familiar, in the comfortable glow of your screen, waiting for someone new to watch, waiting to turn you into the story. The algorithm doesn't sleep. Cassandra doesn't rest. And somewhere, always somewhere, someone is about to press play. Check your recommendations tonight. If you see it, don't press play. Or if you do, I'll see you inside.